right, this is Moshe coming to you from Israel and the Galilee, where I've lived for many years. One of the things I'm going to do today that I never really did in any great detail, I don't remember, I touched on it, but I'm going to do it in depth. So I'm going to show you what it's like to be attacked by missiles and drones, because I've been through it, okay? I could also talk about terrorism, but I don't think that's really highly relevant. You should know that, but I'm going to do that. All right. The other things we're going to cover today is like the military convoys are still coming in. They're predominantly going to Qatar, number one. They're going to Bahrain. Qatar has the Air Force base for America, a big one, and Bahrain has the Navy base for America in the region. They also put a small amount of cargo planes, like 2, 3, 4, into Djibouti. Now, these transfers of cargo planes apparently it's not bringing flowers or food, they came in about the last week, and there's probably in excess of 150. It could be 180, 200. I don't know. And how many of them may have come with transponders turned off, we don't know. Now America's starting to turn their transponders off when they fly bombers around America, like on alert and stuff. So that's another interesting development. They're getting worried about an attack on America, okay? And we're going to get into Russia and China joining the war. And the quick answer, if you're wondering, is yes. And I'll explain during the live stream why, and the comments and the threats that they both have made. Okay. And Iran is still operating in open defiance. Okay. Continuing to threats. The latest threat was they said they were going to push America back to the Gulf of Mexico. They didn't say the Gulf of America. All right. And we're also going to I'll throw this out there now. These convoy planes are stripping military assets, anti-missile systems, missiles, bombs, I don't know what, away from Europe and the Asia Pacific region. And both of those regions are rather tense right now. Okay. As you know. Asia Pacific is, China, North Korea, South Korea, Japan, Taiwan, and probably the Philippines. Okay. And taking the assets from there and bringing them to the Middle East is very, very unusual. And it shows that there's a very, very serious concern with Iran. They would not strip these military assets out, mostly coming out of Ramstein and the UK, from what I could tell. And France said that if Iran doesn't do the nuclear treaty, it's war. So France is going to get into the war. And as I've told you, I picked up there's a French aircraft carrier in the Indian Ocean, not that far from Iran and the Persian Gulf, and they're probably staying there to keep out of range of anything coming out of Iran. And I'm also was told there's an aircraft carrier from India there also. Now, this hasn't been brought out tremendously in the news, but I believe it's probably real. Now, the aircraft carrier from France was named even. It was the Charles de Gaulle. Now, India, I don't know what aircraft carrier it is. They've got several. Okay, so that's the kind of direction we're going to go to today. So I don't like to just sit here and say, oh, war threat imminent, and then, you don't know what I'm going to talk about, So now you know what I'm going to talk about. Okay. So what I want to do now is go into the live stream and make sure we have a live stream. Please pray that we don't have any connection problems or equipment problems or any other kind of problems during the live stream. Please, that's important. Pray for that. Let's make sure we got sound and picture. Let's picture. Yeah, we got plenty of sound and we got picture. Okay. I like this new Samsung tablet. I think they call it S10 Plus, the one I got. I like it better than the Apple stuff. All right, I'm going to get a couple of posts up real quick and give people a little chance to come in, and then we'll get started, okay? It's not going to be very long at all. A lot of people just going to leave, but if you want to leave, go ahead. All right, let me pin this up. And I'll put my email address up as well. Okay, yeah, I've got that done. Let me do some praise. Being a Bible believing site, all the New Testament. There is no God like Jehovah. 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 There is no Messiah like Yeshua. 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 Okay, so the cargo planes are still coming in, not as heavy as they were, but they're still coming to the Middle East. And that makes me believe that they're still building up. But I think it's important that you understand that when the cargo planes, let's say they come on Monday, well, they're not going to just leave them sitting, stage all the military equipment in a hangar and wait for all the planes to come in and then start setting it up. They're setting it up. I think there's a lot of anti-missile defense systems there because they're worried about their air base in Qatar and they're worried about their Navy base in Bahrain. So they're probably putting a lot of Patriots and THAADs and other things there. They also probably intend to take down missiles from Qatar and Bahrain. They also put some stuff in Kuwait, not a whole lot. There was some cargo planes going to Kuwait. So they're probably going to do takedowns of the region if they can from these bases, okay? Also, their warships will probably attempt to do takedowns also. So when and if Iran rains missiles at the bases in Kuwait, Bahrain, Qatar, UAE, Oman, I don't know about that one. There is some military assets in Iran, but I don't think it's on the hit list of, I don't think Iran is really that interested in going after Oman. Saudi Arabia and Jordan, for sure, there's a lot of bases, and there's a lot of bases in Syria. Okay. So that's probably the plan. These huge deployments of equipment are, you could assume definitely they're not about attacking the Houthis. They wouldn't strip assets from high tension areas like Europe, remember Ukraine, Russia, right? Or the Asia Pacific theater, to bring them to the Middle East to attack the Houthis. They wouldn't bother. The Houthis don't present that much of a threat. Okay. So do they also intend to polish off Yemen? Probably not polish it off. They may do some attacks on Yemen to help Saudi Arabia and the UAE and maybe Jordan and protect their ships. But in terms of obliterating the Houthis, no. Ships will keep out of the region when the war lights up, for sure. They're pretty much out of the region already because of the Houthis. So I don't think this, maybe 5-10% of what they have would be devoted to the Houthis. Bible prophecy, I believe Jeremiah 49 tells us that Israel is the one that destroys Edom, which is Yemen. So we may start attacking it, okay? Trump's not the type of president that a country like Iran should say will drive you all the way to the Gulf of Mexico, or it's now the Gulf of America. That's not the right thing to say, because if Trump shows fear and backs off, China will tell them that we'll drive you from the Asia Pacific region all the way to San Diego, and then Russia says we'll drive you all the way from Europe to back to Washington, D.C. It doesn't fly. Okay? No. It doesn't work. Okay. The woman spokesperson of Russia, what the heck is her name? I can't remember her name. First is Putin, then comes Lavrov, and then comes her when it comes to public speaking. She was making veiled threats about America hitting Iran, warning of consequences, serious consequences. So it's an implied threat that they will enter into the fight. We have found some information that Russia's supporting the Houthis in Yemen. And I believe that Russia and China and maybe North Korea have already given weapons to Iran that will be enabling them to make more serious attacks on America and the Allies. The UK has bases in the Middle East as well, one in Syria and maybe in Iraq. They don't have a lot, and they're not huge bases by far, but they do have some bases. They'll get hit or targeted at the least. They're probably taking missile defense systems and putting them on the bases as well. But the problem with that is that Iran will try, swarm attacks with drones and different kinds of missiles at the same time to overwhelm the defense systems. So if they wanted to, if they have a smallish base with 300 guys, if they put 5 Patriot systems up, they'd be in pretty decent shape, but even then they could get overwhelmed. If Iran does, in fact, attack any of the American bases or even American military equipment and aircraft on Diego Garcia, it would be an act against America, military action. It would be a declaration of war, essentially, de facto. And America would not have to declare war on Iran through Congress. Trump could just do it. Trump would probably issue a declaration of war against Iran, and it's probably already prepared. He just needs to date it and sign it. Okay. So Russia, so you got that woman, and then you got Lavrov, and then you got Putin, and they're all saying that, Iran's an ally and we're supporting Iran, and America has no right to stop Iran from having nuclear energy. They're calling it nuclear energy and all of this kind of stuff. Meanwhile, Iran has not at all stopped or reduced their accelerated program to make nuclear material. It's ongoing, full speed ahead. They're not stopping, and they're not paying attention to Trump, and they're insulting him. It ain't going to work. I told you when Trump first got in, he has to establish credibility in the world. So his threats mean something, and he has to go above and beyond sanctions. So I told you that his biggest targets that would get a lot of world attention and wouldn't pose in the minds of the Pentagon and Trump a real threat to the United States homeland. But I think he's wrong. But so he started hitting the Houthis. The war is likely 3 weeks old now with the Houthis' everyday bombings. Well, I understand from sources in Israel that basically on social media that the Houthis are having trouble continuing to sling missiles towards Israel, but they're still getting them off. So there's going to be more and more bombing. Now, if the Houthis sustain 3 weeks of bombings, you better believe Iran's going to probably be able to sustain, a reasonable amount of time, bombings too. So I wouldn't expect a 5-day war here. I think the war against Iran would be 6 to 12 weeks if prophetic time allowed for it. Iran still has opportunity to do a preemptive strike on the Diego Garcia base, which would allow them to destroy, or in their minds, they would destroy a certain amount of the aircraft, refueling tankers, and so forth, thus reducing the damage to Iran, targets. The regular fighter jets, F-15s, F-18s, F-16s, and F-35s and F-22s can be very damaging to Iran, but not in the same scope as B-52s, B-1s, and B-2s. The B-1s, I believe 2 of them are in Qatar. And the general consensus is 10 B-2 Spirit stealth bombers are in Diego Garcia base in the Indian Ocean, which belongs to the UK. and it's out of the range of missiles that Iran has been known to have. Now, if Putin gives them Orishnikovs or even more long-range missiles, they could hit that base, but that doesn't mean they're going to penetrate the defenses of that base to take the missile down. They'll target it, but it may not be successful, or it may. This newspaper in the UK, The Telegraph, I think is a bogus newspaper in terms of siding with the Muslim terrorist states. They said that Iran was saying, oh, we're going to cut off. They did a story and said that an Iranian official said, we're going to cut off any aid to Yemen. Stuff like this. It's garbage, that they're not a source. The Muslim media is full of stories of, now I'm not talking just social media, on social, well, yeah, I guess I have to say social media, but they're saying, they're running stories that the Houthis have hit the aircraft carrier several times in the last, 3 weeks of bombing the Houthis. And, that aircraft carrier would be at the bottom of the Red Sea if it was true by now. They're just lying and they're carrying the stories, Iran, there seems to be some indication that they would negotiate with America through a third party. Anything concrete has not taken place. Nothing has been set up. I don't see it. Ukraine and Russia, there's no ceasefire. Trump's now put new sanctions on Russia yesterday, which is going to make Russia, with their broken economy, really madder. And he said, if there's no ceasefire, we're going to, arm Ukraine extensively. Words to that effect. So will Trump give Ukraine longer range weapons, perhaps where they could go out 300 miles? That would be the next step up. And then they could hit more oil refineries and military bases and let Ukraine do the dirty work for United States and NATO members. Okay? So it appears to me Russia will enter the war with Iran, but how? Well, one way is give them advanced missiles. That's one way I'm pretty sure you're going to see. A second way would be to put warships in the theater around the Persian Gulf or in the Persian Gulf. And I have not seen or heard of any Russian military vessels, Navy vessels, moving into the Persian Gulf region. China has a very small amount of them there now, maybe 3 or 4. And I haven't heard of Russia bring a substantial move from Russia would be about 14. America has about 30 warships here, and that figure is going to clearly go up to 50. Leaving the aircraft carrier planes out of it, there's probably 200 or 300 American fighter planes, bombers and jets, and refueling tankers and AWACS and all A-10 Warthogs and all that stuff in the theater by now. So I think Russia is being very capable, very conservative about doing that. But they may change their mind. Putin is very big on backing uh, agreements with other countries where he'll help defend them in a time of turmoil. Let's see. Let me look at the chat. Make sure we don't have any bad actors in there. Give me a few seconds here to see. I do take questions in the chat, and I do check the chat. Maria Zakharova, that's right. Thank you. That's the name. Zakharova. I didn't. Is it really Maria? Well, you must know what you're talking about. I don't. So, yeah. B18s. Maybe you mean I don't know what a B18 is. Oh, B1B bomber. Sorry, I read it wrong. Can carry 125. Yeah. The B2s can carry 40,000 kilos, so that's about 90,000 pounds. So they're a little bit less on the payload. Oh yeah, Russia's continuing. Russia's not backing out. No. The only chance Russia, China, North Korea, and Iran have is a simultaneous war with America. You got that? And they're not the village idiots. Iran is psychotics. Okay. North Korea are psychotics. China and Russia are not stupid people. Okay. They're in a delusion. They're drinking the cup of the wrath of the Lord. They're going to lose, but they, in their own mind, well, they're not as stupid as, say, Iran or North Korea, which are, idiots, basically. So, yeah, they're planning this out and they're thinking about what the heck they're going to do. North Korea is like a desperado, they got nothing and, he'll do anything and that kind of thing. If he could accomplish a reunification of North and South Korea under him, he becomes a trillionaire probably, and he lives lavishly and he has all kinds of industrial. I mean, South Korea has Hyundai cars, Kia cars. They make good weapons. They have Samsung and another big consumer products like TVs and refrigerators. I can't remember the name. They've got a lot of big industries over there that they would love, North Korea would love to take over. There's all kinds of money flying around. Okay. Remember, when they conquer a country, the wealthy and the military elite and all that go into the conquered country and they throw the people out of the mansions and the nice houses and they move in and they take their luxury cars and they steal everything they want, and all of a sudden now they could be living in big mansions with modern appliances, driving lots of nice cars and clothing and jewelry, that sort of stuff, right? So yeah, they have something to gain from that. With China and Russia, the elite already have everything they need. They're not that motivated by, getting a lot of consumer goods, The North Korean commandos that they sent to Ukraine failed miserably, so they're not very good troops. How good the Chinese commandos are, we don't know yet. I'm sure we'll find out in a fairly quick future. how good their Navy is and stuff like that. The reports that I've been exposed to are not so good. But they're more powerful than Iran, and Russia's more powerful than Iran as well in terms of their Navy and their Air Force. I don't think either one of them have a very seriously stealth jet. I think the only people that have, the only real stealth jets, I don't think they have. I think some NATO countries have them. Israel has them. And I think Russia and China have partial stealth jets, that they could probably be blown up. My take on it. The Russian S-300s and the S-400 anti-missile, anti-aircraft systems have proven to be garbage. They do have an S-500, but more advanced, but we don't know about that one because they don't send it out to other countries. So I'm sure we'll find out when we attack Russia, but until then, we're not going to know. My best guess on it, it's just a more advanced piece of junk than the S-300 and the S-400. The Carl Vinson Aircraft Carrier Group should be in theater. I would say they'd be within striking range of Iran by Sunday, the latest Monday, I think. I don't think it's a big wait. That they're chugging along. They're moving. Okay. The Harry Truman's deployment in the Middle East has been postponed indefinitely. They're not going home for R&R. They're in the Red Sea. I think they'll stay in the Red Sea. And they'll put the Truman at the Sea of Oman or the Indian Ocean near the Persian Gulf. And these ships may, after aircraft strikes on Iran, go into the Persian Gulf. But what they're going to do first is standard operating procedure. They're going to take out any radar in Iran, okay? Ground-based radar, which could have a range. Naval radar, I don't even think Iran could get it past 100. Maybe they could get it 200 miles. That's about it. I mean, ship radar, they're not that large. They don't have the electrical power that a land-based system could have. And that's enough if Iran's going to hit, Kuwait, Bahrain, Qatar, UAE, Oman, and, countries, even Saudi and them, because from the Persian Gulf, they're within range of the radar and they could hook their missiles to be guided by the radar on these ships. So that's not going to help them hit Israel. It's probably not going to help them get deep into Saudi Arabia or Jordan or even Syria deep into it either, but it's going to get them, enable them to hit some American bases and oil refineries. Iran's going to hit the oil refineries and the world's going to go on tilt because the price of oil will, first it'll go from $80 range, which is maybe where it is today. I haven't checked it in a couple of weeks, but it's probably around there. Maybe it's a little lower. And it'll probably go to 110 or 120, then 150, then 200, and then maybe even more. So it's going to get up there. Okay, and that's going to be crippling. Trump could probably step in and start supplying allies with oil. But it's, it's a serious problem. Natural gas would go up too. Gold is down into the 3,100 mid-range or so. No, it's down to, I'm sorry, 3,050, 3050 range in there. So it's not going below 3,000. So the efforts to suppress the price of gold didn't push it down enough. Gold will, when this war fires up, I wouldn't be surprised to see gold to 4,000 or even 5,000. It'll go. Okay. I don't see why it wouldn't. Internet cables, I expect, will be cut all over the world. So that might be the internet. When we read the prophecies in Jeremiah 50 and 51 of America, daughter of Babylon, we read that when the appearing of the sign of the Son of Man happens, and the true believers that are not Israelite or Israelite, plus the Israelis that were previously unsaved, they see the Son of Man in the clouds seated on the right hand of power, which is, I believe, Father God, Jehovah. That's in Matthew 24:30. That's in Revelation 1:7, that they receive the everlasting life, which does not mean they live eternally. It answers the scriptures that you've probably read over the years that you probably didn't really grasp, like a child shall live to be 100, a child shall die at 100, and then it says, my people's days shall be like that of a tree. Trees die, but they could go a couple thousand years or even more. So it'll be something like the way they were before the flood, where they were going 900 years, but it'll be a double portion, the scripture says, so it'll go further. A lot of you don't know what I'm talking about, and you need to go through my videos in the live section and understand these prophecies, which are, by and large, completely untaught by the church. Yet there they are, sitting in your Bible. And people run away from me when I talk like that, and they blame me. They get mad at me. Well, sorry. I'm trying to teach Bible prophecy, not trying to kick against any particular country like America, although I do side with the Bible, and I go with the Bible, and that's what the Bible's telling you, and that's what my position is. Let me read some of these posts. Let's see. Tell us about how the world used to be prices, styles, popular hobbies, the inventions when they started booming, how they changed the world. Yeah, Industrial Revolution and all of that. Sure. Someone says the F-22 and the F-35 are the only stealth fighter. I agree, but I also believe that some of the more advanced Russian and Chinese jets are not stealth fighters in reality, but they have some stealth capability. For instance, there are F-16s that Israel has, America has, and other countries where they put the coating from the F-35 that goes on the F-35 fuselage, they put it on the F-16. So the F-16 takes on it some stealthy capability, but it's not a full stealth. And when they start hanging ordnance, missiles, rockets, bombs, and fuel tanks off the wings of the F-15, the F-16, well, really the F-16 we should focus on, not the 15, it ruins its stealthiness. But after it deploys its weapons and doesn't have them hanging off the fuselage and the wings anymore, well, then it could be somewhat more stealthy. And that's not full stealth, but it makes it harder to detect. That's what I think the Chinese and the Russians have. Best case, they may not even have that. But they got something, but I don't think it's can hold a light to the F-35 or the F-22. And then the B-1 and the B-2, I believe, are stealth as well. So, but those are not fighters, those are bombers. And you said fighters, so you're correct. China's Navy seems to be mostly fishing trawlers. They have one ship in the 40,000 ton class, maybe 2 now. U.S. has at least 10. Yeah, China's Navy is, not up to America's Navy. But they got a couple aircraft carriers. They're dangerous. Let's not kid ourselves. What makes China very dangerous is they're heathen. They're communist atheists for the most part, and they will do anything. Okay, that's the thing. So they're dangerous. They don't have as good weapons as, say, NATO or Israel, but they're still dangerous. And they got lots of manpower. They got lots of aircraft, lots of Navy vessels. They're dangerous. Are their tanks as good as Israel and America tanks? No, but they're still dangerous. Are Russian tanks as good as America and Israel? No, but they're still dangerous. The T-90 is a very dangerous tank, but it's not as good as our tanks or America's tanks. Probably not as good as UK or France, and but it's still a dangerous weapon. Okay. The B-2 is more stealthy than the F-22 and the F-35. Well, I could believe that. And it contains the bombs inside the fuselage. So they're not hanging ordnance off the bottom of the fuselage or the bottom of the wings, because you can't run stealth like that because the bombs are not stealth, So yeah, those things are extremely dangerous. And that's why Iran may do a preemptive attack on the Diego Garcia base. And then they also have to get the B-1s, of which there's 2 in Qatar. Now, Qatar is just across the Persian Gulf from Iran. It's not a long trip. It's not like crossing the Atlantic or anything even close to that. It's more like crossing one of the Great Lakes, or, it's not a big trip. So Iran's got a real problem. And remember, to launch missiles and be deadly, the B-1s and the B-2s don't have to fly over Iran. They could fire at it from over the Persian Gulf when they get closer to Iran. Now, they have JDAM type bombs, or maybe they are JDAMs that are guided. If they get up to high altitude, I understand the B-1s and the B-2s can drop these bombs 40 miles away from target, but they got to be up high, probably at least 35,000 feet. But these suckers can get up to 50,000 feet. And the interesting thing about that is most modern advanced countries' anti-aircraft missiles don't go up that high. So they could fly out of reach, plus they're stealth. So does Iran have a problem? My gosh, it's got a massive problem. And I myself do not think they have any long-range radar left after Israel hit them the last time. They might have some, but I don't think they got any. I don't think they can rebuild that stuff that easy. You're talking about these aircraft, half spheres or domes, these radar half spheres or domes that are huge. They might be 90 feet in the air, and they need a power supply that's unbelievable. They got to go right to the generator, right to the electric plant. I mean, their electric lines are probably like that thick. The electrical energy, what do they call it? EMP or EMF or something, EMF emanating forth from that is dangerous to the soldiers. They got to keep a distance from it. Well, that's like America and Israel does that. Does Iran give a hoot about their soldiers? They probably let them walk around there till they get sick and then put them in the hospital and send another stooge in, Or maybe they give them protection. I have no idea. Anybody hear about that tank that supposedly sunk into 40 feet of mud during a training. No, I did not hear about it. I don't know. I don't know. The M88 was found with the decrease. You're talking about where they were missing 4 soldiers and they found them in water with mud and stuff like that. And now they're trying to figure out. They're obviously dead, and they're trying to figure out how they got killed. And you could pretty much rest assured they're not going to go declare war on a country over 4 dead soldiers. But what really happened to the soldiers, we're not sure. Now, Iran's latest threat to Israel is we have 1,000 missiles ready to go, pointed at Dimona. That's our nuclear facility. It's sort of kind of near Haifa. It's by car. It's probably 20 minutes from Haifa, something like that. So it's really out in the middle of nowhere. That would be a massive swarm attack. It's a great threat, but I don't think they have the radar. A few weeks ago, probably 3 weeks, between 2 and 3 weeks ago, Trump said Iran doesn't have the radar for long range, referencing attacking Israel. And they don't. I don't think they got it rebuilt yet. You can't take, let's say Russia can't take long range radar and put it in a cargo plane and fly it over and, take it off with a forklift, drop it on a truck, put it on the ground, and plug it in. No. You're talking months and months of putting that up. It's not simple. It's not easy. And we'll just attack it again. We have the capability. We have about 40 F-35s that we have modified after we got them from America. We're the only country they let modify them. And we do our own maintenance on them. America doesn't do the maintenance, we do. So our F-35s are pretty good. I would say they've got features and benefits that the American F-35s don't normally have. Now, I'm sure, without a doubt, that we've shared this technology with America. We have, for instance, a company called Elbit makes a helmet for our fighter jets, not just F-35s, F-15s, F-16s. It's a 360-degree helmet. So the pilot sits there and he looks straight ahead, but he sees the screen. It would probably be a holographic screen that shows him 360, what's going on around him in every direction. Now that makes the capability of the pilot, not so much the plane, the pilot way more enhanced. See the point? But there's other things they do to it as well that they don't tell us, but I'm sure they're pretty stinking effective. Okay. Now, America has these systems too. I don't know if they have a large amount of them, but they have some. Our Iron Beam laser missile defense, many months ago, probably 6 months ago or 8 months ago, we tested a prototype and it worked very, very well. So we went into production, and this costs us about $1 in electricity to take down a drone or a missile. Okay. And it is, from my understanding, it's pretty much unbeatable. Okay. And it could take down several missiles or drones. Well, you don't need them on drones. Drones are slow movers. You could take drones down with a lot of different things, including ground fire, helicopters, jets, But the Iron Beam could be ready to go. I don't know. We were told sometime in 2025, we're in month 4, we're going to have them ready for deployment. Now, I am sure, without having any factual information, that these people making these things are working at least double shifts, if not triple shift. Well, I mean, working round the clock or almost round the clock. I'm sure they're shut on Shabbat, but other than that, so they probably shut down Friday afternoon and then they open up probably Saturday night and start working again. Just very quickly, because it's popping up again, to revisit Yeshua in the tomb, which it says for 3 days and 3 nights. He was working not on a Gregorian calendar, because the Gregorian calendar came out, perhaps 1,500 years after he rose from the dead, okay? So the Hebrew calendar, it says the first day of the month they went to the tomb was empty, the first day of the week. And that first day of the week is Sunday. But Sunday on the Hebrew calendar starts let's just call it sundown to make it easy, at sundown Saturday. So when the sun is down, it actually says the Erev, which means the mixing of the day and night. So the shadows are long and all that. That's when the holiday, the Shabbat, is over. But let's just say sundown for simplicity. So at sundown Saturday, he would have completed the 3 days and 3 nights. And then he came out before the women came to the tomb, and they came to the tomb very, very early in the morning. It may have still been dark. So you just work your way back. And you got Saturday night was the end of the 3 days and the 3 nights. Friday night was the end of the second day and night, and Thursday night was the end of the first day and night. So there was no way that Good Friday makes any sense here. And it's nonsense, but it keeps popping up a little bit. So I thought I'd mention it. Let me take a fast break and I'll be right back. You can put questions up in the chat. Now, the rabbinical Jews don't follow the Bible, the Old or the New Testament. Actually, they teach that if you put a New Testament in your house, you bring a curse on your house. They follow a book called the Talmud, which is about as relevant as the Tibetan Book of the Dead. It's nonsense. And their calendar is completely screwed up. So they're going to have their Passover in about a week. It's incorrect dates. They don't even observe it right. In the New Testament, you have Pesach or Passover. That's 1 day followed by 7 days of unleavened bread. 7 plus 1 equals 8. They've combined it into 7. So they put Pesach on the first day of unleavened bread, which is incorrect. Just read Leviticus 23. There's no basis for this. They created a new year that doesn't exist in the Bible, called Rosh Hashanah. In Hebrew, Rosh means the head or the beginning. Ha means the, Shana is year. So they're saying the head of the year, the beginning of the year. There is no such thing in the Bible. It doesn't exist at all. It's just not in there. So will Iran attack Israel on their Passover? Will Iran attack Israel on their Passover? Probably not. What do you think America would do if Iran launches 1,000 missiles at Israel? Let me ask you this question. How does America know when they see a massive missile launch coming? How do they know where the heck the missiles are going? I would say it's doom and gloom. It's rough cut 2,500 miles from Diego Garcia to Iran. Where in Iran is another question, of course, because it's a large country. But I don't know how fast they're going to run the B-1s and the B-2s and the B-52s over there. And they got to put refueling tankers up. But I would say within 6 hours or 8 hours, they would be dropping ordnance on Iran. Because they would, number one, what's Iran going to launch at next? If you let them launch 1,000 rockets, look, they're going to pass over and near Kuwait, Bahrain, Qatar, Jordan, Saudi Arabia. They're going to be going all over the region. Syria, they don't know what's up. America's going to go nuts and start bombing. If America's defending Kuwait, Bahrain, Qatar, UAE, Jordan, Saudi Arabia, they're going to defend Israel too. The Iranian leaders belong in a psychiatric hospital for the criminally insane. The same for Hezbollah, Hamas, Al-Fatah, ISIS, Al-Qaeda, the same thing. They recruit people and tell them if you get killed in this war, you're going to instantly go to paradise and get 70 virgins. What do you think you're dealing with? Now we need to talk about Turkey and Syria. Turkey has moved military convoys, tanks, jeeps, trucks, stuff like that, into central Syria. They're buddy-buddy with the new government of Syria, HTS it's called, Hotel Tango Sierra. And they want to reactivate air bases left behind by the Bashar Assad government of Syria. And they want to put air defense systems in, of which they don't have any good ones, by the way. They cannot stop the F-35s. They could be a real royal pain in the neck to an F-15 and an F-16. But I'm not even sure they could do much to the F-16s that we have and other countries as well. that are partially stealthy. Okay? They don't have advanced systems. They don't have advanced fighter jets. They come into Israel, their fighter jets. It's going to look like this. That's it. Okay? They don't have good missile defense systems. And we have armored columns in Syria. We have tanks, mobile artillery, armored personnel carriers, Humvees, towed artillery. We have helicopters. Our jets can get over there. And we have, with jets, fighter jets, we got over 300. Not like America, but enough to give Turkey a real beating. So there's an air base up at the north that Turkey had its eye on. And 2 days ago, we bombed it. But we bombed it not a little bit. We obliterated it. We made it look like a broken up parking lot. All the runways were entirely blown up, not just the pothole here and there from a bomb. Destroyed. We got all the buildings, the control towers, the hangar, everything. We demolished it. It's demolished so badly that, in my opinion, as a non-airport architect, it would probably be cheaper for Turkey to start all over and build a new air base in another location than to try to rebuild this one. I think it was destroyed with that in mind, that it's just curtains for that. Nobody's going to rebuild it. Okay? We've heard other bases, but we didn't demolish them completely. If they put anti-aircraft systems into Syria, it hinders us.
That's not nice.
It hinders us because we have destroyed all the radar in Syria now. So we can fly freely across Syria to hit Iraq and Iran. Iraq will be in this fight with Iran. You can count on it. Turkey doesn't get along that well with Iran, and I don't think Turkey is that interested in helping Iran. Turkey wants control of Syria. They want to move 3 million Syrian refugees going back to Bashar Assad's days, years and years ago. He wants to get rid of them from Turkey and put them back in Syria. He's got them in refugee camps, and he's, feeding them medical, clothing, He wants to get rid of them. His economy is bad. His currency is dropping. He wants to get them the heck out of there. So he's supporting HTS, but he's late. We've destroyed so much stuff left by the Bashar Assad regime over there. He has to start from scratch. So he has to either take over a busted up old air base or build new ones, and then he has to set up radar and all this other stuff. I don't think Israel's going to let him. I think there's going to be a fight in Syria. Now, he's a member of NATO. Will NATO activate the all for one, one for all if we attack Turkish army, not militias, Turkish army proper wearing Turkish army uniforms in Syria? I doubt it. Number one, Turkey is the black sheep in the flock of NATO. He's a Muslim. He's got crazy Muslim policies. He talks about annihilating Israel. He talks about we need to raise a 5 million man army from the Arab states and just wipe Israel out once and for all. And these practices and spouting off of the mouth are not in line with the way NATO operates. He talks genocide. Okay. Now, NATO also has a problem with Russia right now, a bad one. Russia and Belarus, and you also got trouble with Azerbaijan and Armenia and some of the stand countries that support Russia. They're not comfortable. And they're not going to come to go fight against Israel over something like this, with Turkey having an imperialistic expansion in Syria that Israel decides to attack is pretty unlikely. NATO's going to go to war over that. It didn't happen in Turkey. If Israel were to attack Turkey in Turkey, yeah, they'd probably go to war. But they can't. They got a problem with Russia and Ukraine. China said that if Russia gets attacked, make no mistakes about it, words to that effect, they will come and help Russia. Russia said they're going to help Iran. So you put the dominoes together and push them over. Russia helps Iran. America attacks Russia. China joins in the fight to help Russia in Europe. How? Maybe they just fight America on America. In America, they don't bother coming to Europe. You could think of it that way. China also sees a golden opportunity to take over Taiwan and South Korea right now, because America is stripping assets out of the Asia-Pacific theater to the Middle East. And if America gets embedded in the Middle East and Russia attacks other countries like Poland, Romania, Latvia, Lithuania, Estonia, Sweden, Denmark, in Europe, the whole European Union's, not just NATO, the whole European Union is going to go after Russia. They're scared right now. They're all building up their military. They're starting drafts. They're starting reserves, militias, whatnot. I'm not so sure they're calling anything militias, but they're cranking up their war efforts, increasing defense spending. So why would Russia wait? See, China and Russia and North Korea and Iran, the only way to get out of this and win is if they open up 3 fronts against America. Well, the Middle East would actually be 3 fronts by itself, to be honest with you. North Korea attacking South Korea, front 1. There's a big base in South Korea with about 28,000 personnel. Japan, they've said a million times they're getting into the fight. And China will take out Taiwan, try to occupy it. So you got 3 fronts over there. In the Middle East, right now, you have 2 fronts, the Houthis and Iran. And then in Europe, you basically now have 1 front, which is Ukraine and Russia, but that likely would expand. Poland and Romania would be pretty likely to go, but they could fight back. If Putin wants to hit on defenseless or near defenseless nations, he could hit Sweden and Denmark and Norway. They can't do much. Romania can do something, but Poland can really pack a punch. The biggest threat to Putin is Poland, because NATO flies weapons into Poland. then they put them on a train or they put them in trucks and bring it into Ukraine. So if he gets rid of Poland, which is not so easy, then he can stop the flow of weapons to Ukraine. Not really. They'll just bring him someplace else and get him into Ukraine. It's not going to. All right, let me get into my notes here and give you some other stuff. What's doing in the chat? Let's see. Hold on. Ballistic missiles are predictable, but they can be, the more advanced ones that Russia and China have can probably alter their course in flight. Oh, sorry, I hit the wrong button. I blocked somebody by mistake. I'm unblocking them. They're unblocked. I want to get this other character out of here. I don't know who these characters are, but I'll go through correct end times doctrine with you in a minute. Zechariah 12, and as far as I know, nobody's really talking about Zechariah 12 correctly anywhere on the internet. I've scoured it. All right. Get back on my notes. Egypt has been building up their military in the Sinai Peninsula. They have over 100,000 soldiers in there. They built little bases. They got tanks, artillery, etc. That's a violation of the Camp David Accords, and they're enhancing it. So Israel's getting worried. And I'm going to explain prophecy to you in a couple of minutes, and you'll see what's really going on with Turkey and Egypt and everything. Stock market crash. Don't worry about that. When it'll bounce back. It's artificial. Listen, if they couldn't control it, they wouldn't have it. Okay? Don't worry about it. When you see the stock market crash for real, what's going to be behind it is some massive volcanic eruption that destroys 500 or 800 miles of territory in America. Or you see an earthquake that's a 9.3 on the East Coast or the West Coast or something like that, and it demolishes cities, and hundreds of thousands of people get killed, and trillions of dollars is lost. Or you see war in America, and I don't mean terrorists, I mean missiles and bombs raining on American cities. Then you'll see a stock market crash for real. And how you'll know it's real is they're going to close the markets. They're going to stop trading. So people's positions are going to be frozen. They're not going to be able to sell, and you're not going to be able to buy. You're not going to be able to do anything. And that's what's going to happen when Jeremiah 50:51 happens. So I would suggest you stay out of any market, any futures, options, stocks, bonds, commodities. and I wouldn't have any digital currency because those internet cables are going to get cut. And when the internet cables get cut, Bitcoin and its competitors are worth what? They'll go down 95%. There'll be guys that, well, I mean, before they're not going to go down. They're not going to be able to trade. You can't trade digital currency without internet. What about the banks? The banks, if the internet cables are cut, they're going to affect international. The banks will still operate in America. The SWIFT system and the IBAN system isn't going to work. I'll be right back. Gold, I think, is a great investment, as well as silver, a better investment. But I think the only way they work is if you take physical possession of the precious metals. You can't use COMEX or online trading. That's paper gold, and it's junk. I mean, you don't have anything. It's just gambling. There's some people saying that Air Force One possibly went to an underground bunker in Colorado, the big bunker they got there. But it appears Trump was not on it. It could have been Vance or some other guy. I don't know. It may not have been Air Force One. It could have been another plane like it or something. There was a mass stabbing attack in Washington, D.C. That's a little rattling, isn't it? I got to cover some prayer requests real quick, okay? For JB, Juliet Bravo, JB, Juliet Bravo, JB. The prayer request is that this person does not have any cancer. Apparently they're getting tested or they're going to get tested, something like that. So for JB, Juliet Bravo, JB, prayer request is they do not have cancer. For PC, one of our very old followers, well, been with us a long time, great spiritual warrior, spiritual warfare fighter. It's for PC, Papa Charlie, PC, Papa Charlie, PC. We prayed for this person to get an insurance problem resolved, I think, yesterday, and it got resolved already. Okay. But the prayer request is for more pain reduction. This person did get some relief, but still in great pain. So pray for PC, Papa Charlie, a reduction in pain, and pray for general healing, and if needed, good medical care. If needed, good medical care and more pain reduction for PC, Papa Charlie. Okay. So appreciate that prayers, and PC appreciates the prayers. If you want prayer requests, you can put them in the chat or email them to me. My email address is israelgiving with the number 7, israelgiving with the digit 7 at gmail.com. Israelgiving is one word. All right, I'm going to take you through what's really happening in prophecy, and you'll see it. Yeah, Egypt is building up, and it's rather disturbing. You got to get physical gold or physical silver. Look, silver's around 30 something, 31, 32, 33. It stays there, right? If gold goes from, let's say, around 31 to 4,100, okay, that's a big jump, but it's percentage-wise not that much. But if it gets up that high, silver's likely going to go to 100. So silver triples and gold goes up 20, 30%. See the difference? Silver's a good move. Yeah, Cheyenne, Colorado, that's that mountain they have a massive bunker in, before we get into prophecy, let me tell you what these drone and missile attacks are like. Because I've been through quite a few. I've lived here quite a few years, okay? And I went through October 7th. Why am I telling you this? Because I think those of you that are in Europe and parts of Asia, but I have very few followers in Asia. I do have people in Europe and America and Canada, okay? I want to tell you what it's like because I am most certain, without a doubt, you'll be experiencing it pretty soon. First thing you need to understand is the difference between Israel and the European and North American countries, okay? We have what's called the red alert system. When our radar picks up unidentified aircraft, which could be a fighter jet, it could be a paramotor idiot terrorist trying his luck to come into Israel. It's like duck hunting for the IDF. It's a joke, But drones and missiles, okay? As soon as we pick them up, which is normally before they get over our territory, unless you're dealing with Hamas that has a touching border with us in South Israel, or Lebanon that touches our border, and they're very close. In those instances, it's very hairy because the red alert will go off and you have about 15 seconds to get into a bomb shelter. Now, every house in Israel going back at least 40 years has been built with a bomb shelter, okay? I should probably do a video of I have 2 bomb shelters on the property. One goes back to 1948. It's an older one. It's really just good for shrapnel. If you get a direct hit or something close to a direct hit, it's not going to do a lot of good. Probably a direct hit with an artillery shell would do it in. Okay. The more modern bomb shelter, well, the bomb shelters in general are pretty much designed to take shrapnel. A 500-pound bomb landing directly on your bomb shelter is probably going to destroy it and you. Okay. The walls are probably about that thick. They're heavy concrete with rebar. And I believe they have rebar. They have a window with a heavy steel door that's about 3/4 of an inch thick. So it's not a real window, it's an escape hatch. And the rescue people in Israel have a tool where they could open that window from the outside. However, if you're worried about a ground invasion, you can rig yourself up, have somebody weld a piece of metal on there and put something in the wall like a latch so you can put your metal bar in there and then they can't open it. Okay. But you're playing a bad game there, because if something happens and there's a hit near you and you get knocked out or something from percussive force, you're thrown down and you hit the wall with your head or something like that, and they come around to see how everybody's doing, where there was an attack, a bomb or something like that, and they start yelling at you and you're unconscious and they can't really open up the door, the window, the hatch to come get you out. But if there's ground infiltration, you want to do that. Okay. And then we have a door that's made out of metal and it has bolts that go up high on both sides of the door and into the floor. So it's a pretty rough thing to get through the door. Pistol fire would probably fail. There's really very little high-end pistols floating around in Israel or the Middle East in general, okay? .45 ACP, I'm sure, is a fraction of 1% of the pistols in Israel, okay? .44 Magnum is pretty close to non-existent. Things heavier than .44 Magnum, like .460, the Smith & Wesson 500, I don't think you see it in Israel. A couple of collectors might have them. It's not anything you want to take seriously. They have .357s here from the old days. They have .40 caliber. Most of the people use 9mm in the pistols because that's what the military does. And they don't buy very expensive, sophisticated ammo from Hornaday or Underwood or other. You know, they're using Full Metal Jacket, 115 grain, 1150 feet per second. It's standard junk ammo. And they're mostly aware that you got to put 2 or 3 in somebody to stop them, you know, normally. I mean, if you get a cranial shot or a spinal column shot, yeah, you're going to get quick results, but you got to lay the bullets in with that. And that's really it. I mean, you know, that's going to cover the tremendous lion's share. There are some old .38 special revolvers floating around Israel. You don't see .380s very much at all. 25 ACP, 32 ACP. Nah, you're not going to run into that here. 10mm, rare. shotguns are extremely rare in Israel. You almost never see any. I don't think there are any civilian shotguns. They don't exist. Assault weapons. There are 98% of them, or 99% are going to be 223. And they're going to be full metal jacket. They're probably going to be 50 grain, 55 grain. And they're going to go 3,300 feet per second. And they can be damaging to the steel door. So could an AK-47, which is the enemy's gun. 2,450 feet per second, 125 grains. I'm not so sure that it'll penetrate fully through the door. I don't know. But if you got a full auto with a 40-round clip and you start dumping rounds into the door, you're going to damage the door. 99.9% of the bomb shelters don't have a shooting port. I don't think it's up to specifications. So it's part of the building code to have the bomb shelter. I don't think it's up to code if you put a shooting port in the door, but I'm sure some guys have done it. You got to rig it with probably a 3/4-inch steel sphere or circle that you can put in front of it and lock in place so they can't shoot into you. I mean, you could open up and shoot it out, but they can burn you to death when you're in these bomb shelters. They're usually at the bottom of the house or on the ground floor of the house. Maybe set down in the earth a little bit so you have 3 or 4 steps to go down or something. And so we get the red alerts and then we go to our bomb shelters. I don't go. I didn't go all during the last war. I never went in for that. I've been in the bomb shelter lots of times, but I don't go in there for the attacks. There's a scripture that says, no evil shall come near your dwelling. And that's what I cling to. But moving along. The red alert system in the bomb shelter, you don't have that in North America or Europe. Am I trying to scare you? I'm trying to talk reality to you. I don't sell anything. I don't tell you to go buy survival stuff from this company and use my code because you get 10% off. I don't do that because I don't sell anything. I don't make merchandise out of God's people. Okay? Can't do that. So, on October 7th, I was getting ready for the broadcast. I was sitting outside about 5:30 in the morning. My phone started going crazy with red alerts. And it was running the battery down. It was nonstop red alerts for over an hour. And that would have been hundreds or thousands of missiles. I didn't know what the heck was going on. I'm in what's called the north in the Galilee. You probably heard about that in the Bible. And the Gaza war was in the south. So for a while, I was rather confused. I didn't know what was happening. Then about 6:30, 7 o'clock, I started seeing other people come on social media. They didn't know what was happening either. Scary. It took longer. Then we started getting statements from the government. This was allowed to happen. Many of us in Israel know that, or believe that. And there was a massive amount of missiles, and it was really confusing. Okay. Did I hear any missiles? Did I hear any takedowns? No, I was too far away. Now, I live near Syria and Jordan, but I'm in Israel. And there's like a valley from Syria to the Galilee. And when we drop heavy bombs in southern Syria near Israel, I not only hear them, me and my wife feel the pressure in our eardrums, and the windows and the doors of the house rattle. Get used to it. When you hear planes break the sound barrier, which I've heard gazillions of times, it's like a boom noise, and it shakes your windows and doors, and it may get a coffee cup to rattle and spill coffee if it's a full cup, stuff like that. Your cats and your dogs go nuts. One of our dogs thinks the only safe place in the world when this stuff goes on is under the bed. And the other one just wants you to pet her. Two girls. They're large dogs. So, well, one's larger than the other. They're not small dogs at all. So, let's talk about takedowns. First, let's talk about missiles. What they sound like is they scream. They sound like an engine from a jet plane and screaming at the same time. That's the best I could describe it. They don't sound like jets. The only thing that sounds like a jet is a jet, okay? The Russian Tupolev bomber is the loudest plane I ever heard. I heard him from Syria quite a few years ago, maybe 9 or 10 years ago, in Israel. This is a supersonic propeller plane, turbojet. Each motor, I believe it has 4, has 2 propellers. One goes one direction and one goes the other. I never heard of anybody else building a plane like this. And it goes over 750 miles an hour. It doesn't go 1,200. I think it maybe goes 900 or 1,000. I don't know. It's not that. It doesn't go as fast as the supersonic jet, but it does break the sound barrier. When I heard it, it wasn't breaking the sound barrier. And it was so loud, it made me step back. What the heck is this? F-35s are rather loud. This thing was incredibly loud. So if you hear some jet that's making noise like crazy, and you never heard anything like it before, because it doesn't sound like a regular jet, but it's super loud. It's probably a Russian Tupolev bomber. Now, missiles fly overhead, and then the Iron Dome usually gets launched. We launch 2 Iron Dome missiles at every target, okay? As the missiles come into Israel, or even before they come into Israel, they're attacked. So we start attacking them even outside our border, okay? To do that, we need to use the Arrow 2 or the David Sling. And those are reserved for, not junky Katyushas, for, longer range ballistic type missiles. So we shoot at them when they're outside of Israel, and we normally take them down. So when the anti-missile systems go off, you hear a boom. Okay? A loud boom, loud enough to scare the dogs, where they'll start barking and get distraught. Okay? It scares them. Got it? It doesn't sound like a firecracker. It sounds boom, big time. When the iron domes go off, they explode. You hear 2 explosions. And they go in sequence. So as the missile gets near Israel, they'll hit it with various systems in layers. So the further the missile evades our anti-missile system, it gets deeper into Israel, it's getting hit by more anti-missile systems. You understand? So there's layers of protection. As it keeps coming in, we keep taking it down. Okay? The best the Iron Dome can do, if you talk to experts, the very best is 75%. But when you got multiple layers of iron domes, then you could get up to 98, 99%. Okay? The further the missile travels, the better a lock we get on it. Although that may not necessarily be entirely true. And they make a lot of noise. It's a very loud boom in the air that you'll hear for quite a few miles. I mean, easy 10 miles. You might hear it for 20 or 30 miles. You probably do. Okay? This is what you need to know. Most of the casualties in Israel from missile attacks have been from people running to the bomb shelter. If you're getting attacked from Lebanon and you're in the north near Lebanon, you don't have much time to get to the bomb shelter. 15 seconds is the rule of thumb. If you're in the south near Gaza, you got 15 seconds. If the missile is coming in from Yemen, you got plenty of time. And Israel starts, well, the Americans will start attacking it with their ships, or we might attack it with our ships down there a lot and try to take them out before they get over Israel airspace, which very often can happen. So if it's taken down before it gets to Israel, they probably still sound the red alert. So you have more time to get into your shelter. So you want to walk into your bomb shelter at a brisk pace if you have one, and most of you don't. Here's the rub, though. The takedown missiles cause shrapnel. Sometimes the drone or the missile that gets destroyed drops pieces of metal that look like they weigh, 50, 90 pounds. Something like that lands on you, it can kill you. You don't need to be in a bomb shelter to protect yourself from shrapnel. You can go under your car. There's a good chance if you go in your car, you'll be okay. It depends on your car and the size of the shrapnel. A lot of shrapnel is just a piece of metal that's, an eighth of an inch thick, and it's like this, and it's just going to scratch your paint. And little of that, okay? Under your car is probably going to work pretty good because it's got to go through the roof and then the floorboard. And it can bounce off the car too, The shrapnel's not a projectile, it's just shreds of stuff, okay? If you're in a building, practically any building is going to stop it. Okay, our houses are made out of concrete. Surprise, surprise. Heavy, hard concrete that's 4 inches, 5 inches thick usually. Rebar. Our ceilings are concrete with hard tile, and our floors are concrete with tile. Okay, so it keeps the house about 15 degrees cooler than outside in the summer. Unfortunately, it keeps the house that much cooler in the winter. So in the winter, you can go outside and warm up. It's crazy. They haven't figured out insulation yet in Israel. One day. Okay. So you can go into a store. You can go to an overpass. You can crawl underneath a truck or something, and not have to worry about shrapnel. But you don't want to stand out in the street and look at the fireworks, because the shrapnel is a problem if it's right over your head. Now, Gaza shot from October 7th, right around there, they shot a good 15 to 20,000 missiles and rockets at us. When you eliminate the 4 or 5 Muslim Palestinians that got killed by these rockets in Israel, they killed maybe 5 or less Israelis. And you could add Lebanon into that too. So you're probably up to 30, 35,000 rockets and missiles. I don't even think 10 Israelis got killed. Now, there were some Israelis that had heart attacks during the attacks. I don't count that because they were not killed by ordnance. Now, we had a few Israelis that were injured by shrapnel, which is not that serious. Now, there's a ton of Israelis taking psychiatric type medicine because of the stress from the war. Okay. I'm not counting that either. And I don't think anybody died running to the bomb shelter, but we do have a lot of a broken wrist, a broken knee, a broken ankle, sprained wrist, sprained ankle, sprained knee from falling running to the bomb shelter. But that's not a result of the ordinance either. Okay. Once they get into the bomb shelter, they just wait, which is normally 15 to 30 minutes, and then they go out. They sound all clear. In addition to the red alert, we have land sirens that sound by your region. So it could be by your city or your region, like your county or something like that. And they sound. And that's rather frightening. Now, in America and Europe, it's a whole other ball game because you don't have red alert. You don't have takedown missiles stationed in the cities and all around the country. And you don't have bomb shelters. You got to be aware of this. So the Arab terrorists, crazies, don't accomplish much in Israel. God is protecting Israel. Look at the numbers with the missiles, and how could it not be? A lot of times when you heard of a death in Israel, it was a Muslim Palestinian or something, you know. We've got 1.6 million Arab citizens that are predominantly Muslim living in Israel. And that's no coincidence. So, I'm telling you, it's pretty hairy, okay? people have gotten injured in cars from missile and drone attacks, but it's a very, very rare occurrence. When the red alerts come, the drill that we use here is you pull your car to the side, you get out of the car, and you lean against you lay down on the ground next to the car. If you can fit under the car, you might want to roll over or stay close to it. When I first came to Israel many years ago, I came and I left and I came back. It was a long time ago. And I was working for a kibbutz. And they told me this, that if a plane is coming and strafing you, if you see the path of the bullets is going to miss you, just freeze, because the pilot can't turn or move the plane in time to redirect the path of the bullets to hit you. Okay? If you see that the bullets are headed right towards you, throw yourself to one side or the other. You want to throw yourself away. The plane will probably have two guns, and you don't want to throw yourself from this gun to get hit by the other guns. You want to throw yourself out of the pattern. But they don't do that too much anymore these days. They use rockets and missiles, drones. Drones are not noisy. If they come at night, you're probably not going to see them. They're probably not going to see you either. The drone operator may have a camera in there and he sees you. He says, oh, let me go kill this person and try to drive the drone into you or have the drone drop ordnance on you. Easy fix is stay out of sight if you could even see where the drone is. If you see the drone and you have weapons, you could shoot the drone. They're not hard to take down. Okay. A shotgun is probably not going to give you enough range, distance to do much, but an assault rifle would. And you could shoot at it. If you know you're not shooting a friendly drone, you could start blinking at it. The drone operator is more than likely going to be ignorant of the fact that you're shooting at his drone. He doesn't have that kind of information. Unless he happens to be watching the drone camera and sees you shooting at the drone, in which case he may try to take action, which could be to attack you or to get the drone out of there. Probably get the drone out of there, because it just gets the drone 200-300 yards away from you, and you're finished. You're not going to do anything to him. Drones are normally easy to kill. In the Middle East, I've not heard of them putting guns on drones. They would want to put a machine gun on the drone, and it would have to have a lot of rounds, and that's a lot of weight. Probably wouldn't do it. I haven't heard of it. Paragliders. I don't know if Europe or America will ever experience this. Those are parachute type things with a motor, and they have like a little bench seat they sit on. They're very, very noisy. Although I heard that they have some now, they put mufflers on that are much quieter, but I can't testify to that being truth or rumored. It probably quiets it down some. And they come in at relatively low altitude. Typically, they'll go 1,000 or 2,000 feet. If it's daytime, you'll see them and you could shoot them. You'll take them down if you hit the engine, if you hit them. And probably a couple of good hits in the parachute will take them down too. Might need a few hits in the parachute. I don't know how, it would vary on the thing. But they're not hard to kill. They're not moving at 350 miles an hour. They're moving at, 25 miles an hour. It's a simple shot. So they're more than likely going to come in at night wearing dark clothes, okay? So you'll hear them, but you won't know where they are. Where the guy is very vulnerable is when he's coming in for a landing, because he's going to initially bring himself down to about 300 feet. You could drop him with a pistol at that point. And his speed is cut because he's slowing down to hit the ground. But he's going, kind of slow, and then he's going to be down at 200 feet. And then he's going to be down to 100 feet. Remember, he's got to land on level ground. He can't land on rocks. He can't land on where there's trees. He can't easily land with his buildings close to each other. He needs kind of a runway to make his final approach, where he gets down to the ground, where he's, 100 feet, 50, 30, 20, 10, 5, and then he probably cuts his engine and he hits the ground and he runs with the paramotor for a few feet until the thing stops. And now he's got this big motor strapped to him. So he's got to get himself unstrapped and clear the thing with all the parachute lines and the seat, and he's got buckled in. Then he's got to get his weapon out. And so if you see him as he's landing, just unload on him. It's not a hard shot at all. And once he lands, he's got several seconds where he's really in high vulnerability because he can't move. He's got to clear all this stuff and start running away. And he's going to be in an open field, an open area. If you're in a city and there's a schoolyard surrounded by tall buildings, he can't land in that. He can't land in a city street with cars parked in the street and street lights that go up in the air and then go over and high buildings. He can't bring he could try to land on a roof. Good luck with that. Probably going to be going to collect his virgins, so to speak, sarcastically. You're not going to be able to land on a roof, okay? Landing on a beach is perfect. He needs an open, flat area. A football field is a little dangerous because he's got to come in high to clear the seats. It probably wouldn't, most of them wouldn't make it. It'd be very dangerous because then he has to descend quickly, and you can't do that with a paraglider very safely. So he needs big open park, big region where there's cleared of trees and it doesn't have a lot of other obstructions. And they're not easy. If you're in farm country, it gets easy, Or if you have a horse ranch or a cattle ranch or something, it gets easy. There's a lot of open area, If the guy lands in a cornfield, he's going to probably wind up in the hospital. He's not going to make it, But he can land on other crops, rice or, lettuce, stuff like that. But that's an approach they use. I have not experienced any helicopter attacks in Israel. nor am I aware of any for a long time. We may see jet fighter planes from the likes of Turkey and I don't know who else, but Egypt, and we've had that for many years. Generally, the pilot is not going to be flying around looking for civilians to shoot. That's pretty unusual. The guy's going to be looking for military targets and infrastructure targets. And he's not going to bother strafing civilians because his odds of hitting are not that high, and he loses his ammo, which could be used against infrastructure or military stationary targets. Okay? And he has to worry about ground fire from full auto, and he has to worry about takedowns from other jets, helicopters, anti-aircraft systems. So the guy has got his hands full. He's not likely to go chasing civilians. The Japanese did do that in Pearl Harbor, but not in any great extent. It happened, but I think it was mostly them returning back to the ship from the target. And they had ammo and they didn't want to waste it, so they shot at civilians. Helicopters can be deadly, but they tried in Israel. Our Iron Domes can take helicopters out, child's play. The Iron Dome is a proximity weapon. The projectile gets itself near the incoming missile or drone, and it blows itself up, and the shrapnel goes flying all over the place. So it doesn't have to get itself a pinpoint hit. It just gets near and then blows up. And we send them up in pairs. And we do pretty good with them. When you have them in layers, the unfortunate thing for North America and Europe is you don't have the setup that Israel does. Okay? And God protects Israel. Obviously, look at the numbers, how many missiles are fired and how many deaths. And look at our enemies. We're in the year of recompenses, the payback to our enemies. Isaiah 34:8. I should read this to you. I should actually check the chat real quick. I was eating matzah, not that I follow the rabbinical Passover dates, which were all wrong. I just like eating matzah. It has a low glycemic index. I didn't eat all morning. And they just started putting it in the stores for the upcoming rabbinical Talmudic Passover. So I bought a few boxes of matzah. We got Iron Dome and we got David Sling and we got the Arrow 2. The Arrow 2 is the most advanced. It reaches out the longest, I believe. The David Sling is also for sophisticated missiles. And the Iron Dome is for non-so-sophisticated missiles, although it could work on any missile. So the big takeaway, if you're in Europe or North America and you live near military bases or protected, government structures, infrastructure or whatever, and you see their anti-missile systems there and they go to work, just remember if they start being used, being out in the street, you don't know where the takedown's going to take place. They're proximity weapons. They get close to the target and they blow up and they send shrapnel out 360. And one piece of shrapnel hits a drone or a missile, it won't function right. It's coming at pretty good velocity, the shrapnel, it'll break it. So you don't want to be standing out in the street looking at it, because you could have a piece of shrapnel this big, metal this big, coming down from 400 feet. It's going to hurt. It's going to hurt you badly. Okay? So if you have to, just get in a doorway or go in a lobby of a building. Shrapnel doesn't penetrate. It's pretty easy to escape from shrapnel. It has to just come down and hit you. You're probably not going to see it, especially if it's nighttime, and you'll be confused and you won't know what's going on, and then something hits you. And that's a bad thing. So you don't want to be out in the street if they're doing takedowns. You want to be under something. Okay? That's the deal. Getting a bomb shelter. I know in Israel they sell portable bomb shelters. What's the Hebrew word for that? Mabon? Or it's not a Bible word. There's no word in the Bible for a bomb shelter, but I can't remember what it is. I never say it in Hebrew, but they sell them. They look about the size of a portable outhouse. That's about what they look like. They're, I think, about $2,500, $3,000. They're real heavy. I think they're good for 2 or 3 people to go in for 15 minutes or something like that. And they're quite heavy. So they're not going to blow over if ordnance lands near you. Again, a 500-pound bomb hits any bomb shelter, it's pretty much curtains, okay? A 60, 80, 90-pound warhead or something like that, it may not get through, but the chances of it making a direct hit are severely low. If it gets near you, it's going to explode and the shrapnel is going to bounce off the walls of the bomb shelter. That thing's tough. If there's enemies shooting AK-47s at you, it's just going to chip the concrete. If they're shooting armored piercing AK-47s, it's going to just chip the concrete more. You're talking probably 6 inches of very, very hard concrete with a lot of rebar on that. It's going to bounce off it. It's going to make a divot, that's for sure, but that's about it. I don't think it'll go through it. If they're shooting a 50 cal with armored piercing, now you got trouble. If they shoot a 20 millimeter with armored piercing, that'll make it through. I'm not so sure a 50 would. The high chance is these rifle bullets will ricochet off the concrete, making a chip or a dent in it, or maybe a divot. Yeah. So you could take fire, and the door is armored. They're not going to be able to get rifles through the door. What about an RPG? I don't think it would affect the door. If they had an armor-piercing RPG, yeah, that would probably do the job and get the door blown up. But you're not likely to encounter that kind of stuff. But it works pretty well. You certainly don't have to worry about shrapnel and stuff like that. So those things are available. And I think you could secure them better, like the base of it. You should be able to dig a hole in the ground, pour concrete, right, in the hole, and then you could put the bomb shelter in the hole with the concrete and cement it together, and then it would have a lot more stability. Because if you had a blast nearby, the percussive force could take the bomb shelter. If it's just sitting on the sidewalk or the grass, it could blow it down or something like that. But so you're going to get a couple of scrapes and lumps. You're not going to get much happening to you, you know. If you're really worried about that, buy a football helmet and football gear and put it on when you go in the bomb shelter. You'll make it. It's not a real serious threat. It's not going to blow you 50 feet. You know, it'll blow you a few feet, a foot or two or three or something like that. Unless it's a huge bomb. 500-pound bombs, I feel the percussive force coming all the way from Syria on those things. 2,000-pound bombs are another story altogether. You know? All right. Wasting bullets on the shelters. When they invaded us on October 7th, which was allowed to happen, in my opinion, and many other Israelis, the people went into the bomb shelters of their houses because the rockets and missiles were coming in first. And they stayed in the bomb shelters because the red alerts kept coming for hours. And they went to the houses. And they had AK-47s. They did not have armor piercing. They had regular full metal jacket, or you might want to call it hardball AK-47s, 124 grains, 2450 feet per second. That's the normal communist AK-47 round, okay? And they went and they were shooting into the houses, and then they realized that people were in the bomb shelters. And they were shooting at the bomb shelters to see what they could do, and the results were very poor, what they accomplished with the firing into the bomb shelters. So these nasty psychotics had thermal grenades, you would call it. I don't know who made them for them, but they were thermal grenades that would cause fires. And they were throwing them in the house, and the bomb shelters would get, you know, in some cases, it killed the people. Smoke inhalation got in there, or, you know, it got so hot, the people died. Okay. So that's why I talk about shooting bomb shelters. They really couldn't break into the bomb shelters. They tried crowbars, bullets. They were burning the houses, and the people were roasting inside, basically. So the big thing is you gotta not panic. You gotta try to keep a cool head while this stuff is going on. And, you know, don't panic. Of course, people panic, they start running frantic through the streets and they don't know what they're doing. And that's what a dog might do, is panic. My dogs just want to get inside when they hear these things. The big dogs, the little dogs I used to bark at the projectiles. But the big dogs just want in the house. And Beulah goes under the bed, and then she's good because she knows that nothing can hurt you when you're under the bed. A 5,000-pound bomb hits you and you're under the bed, you're safe. That's her mindset. The other dog, Mommy, Mommy means in Hebrew dear, D-E-A-R, not D-E-R. Dear, like, dear friend, that word, right? But that's not why we call her mommy. We gave it to her in English, but when the Israelis hear us talking about it, they think we're just calling her dear and it's a cute name or something. Okay, fine. So she just gets in the house and then she needs petting and hugging and reassurance. And then we give her a piece of sandwich meat. It really makes a difference. And she says, well, I have nothing to worry about. They're eating, and stuff like that, So your animals will get freaky. I do not know what it's like to have a cat during the ordnance going off in the sky. I love cats, and I've had a lot of cats. I love Maine Coons, but I never had one in Israel, so I have no idea. We have parrots, and they tend to get a little bit on edge, but they have they're very smart. These are African grays and one cockatoo. They're very smart, and they know that the thing is at distance, so they don't get that perturbed about it. But it gets them on edge a little bit, So the dog could get scared and just start running wild, and that's not a good thing. You don't want that. All right, what's really going on in prophecy? Let me show you what's not going on in prophecy with a tremendous amount of proof. And that is Ezekiel. We go to Ezekiel chapter 38, the famous Gog and Magog. And I will, in a matter of no more than 5 minutes, show you why it is not happening today. And it is not for today, it's in the future. Verse 1, and the word of the Lord came unto me, saying, Son of man, set thy face against Gog and the land of Magog. Now, it's rather indeterminate what countries these are today. They get rough ideas, and Revelation also talks about Gog and Magog. But anyway, the chief prince of Meshech and Tubal prophesy against him. They say it's Russia. It could very well pertain to the land that is currently called Russia, and in the future it may have a different name. Remember that. And say, thus saith Adonai Yehovah, behold, I am against thee, O Gog, the chief prince of Meshech. So when you read, O Gog, the chief prince of Meshech and Tubal, he's probably talking to the powers of the air. We wrestle not against flesh and blood, but the powers of the air. He's calling him a prince. It's probably the demon that's running that area of the world. Okay? I'll read it again. And say, thus saith the Lord God, behold, I am against thee, O Gog, the chief prince of Meshech and Tubal. Could it be that this is also a worldly ruler? It could. It really could. Or it could be the demonic spirit there. Don't know. Could it be both? Yeah, it's possible too. But he's just addressing one of them. And I will turn thee back and put hooks in thy jaws, likely famine, and I will bring, and I will bring thee forth, and all thy army, horses and horsemen, all of them clothed with all sorts of armor, even a great company with bucklers and shields. All of them handling swords. Now, this happens when you have the other battle for today that I'm going to show you in Zechariah 12. When that's over, that's when they beat their swords into plowshares and their spears into pruning hooks. In Gog and Magog, they reverse it. They beat their pruning hooks into spears, and they beat their plowshares back into swords. I know they don't teach that, but when you study the scriptures, that's what it is. So when he's saying swords, it's swords. Persia, now Iran, I'm giving you a real fast course in prophecy, and you just have to look the scriptures up yourself and you'll get it. The bells will go off. Yeah. Persia is what we call Iran today, although it references a Persian empire also, which was a greater piece of land than Iran today. You got to remember that. Iran is called Elam, and that's Iran, Iraq, and pieces of Syria, I believe, in Jeremiah 49. And they get destroyed so bad, everybody leaves that country, that area, Elam, which would be Iraq, and it would also be Iran and pieces of Syria. And they get scattered to all the nations in the world where the sword follows them and they get cut off, in other words, dead. Which what happens to them is what they wish to do to Israel. Ethiopia, Libya. Okay, now Ethiopia and Libya are not waging war on Israel, are they? No. All of them with shield and helmet. Gomer and all his bands, they're not popping up in this war. And his bands, the house of Togomar, they're not popping up, of the north quarters, and all his bands and many people with them. Be thou prepared and prepare for thyself, and prepare for thyself thou and all thy company that are assembled unto thee, and be thou a guard unto them. After many days thou shalt be visited in the latter years. Well, okay, I can see latter years could have relevance for now. Thou shalt come unto the land that is brought back from the sword. Well, is Israel brought back from the sword yet? You'd have to be delusional or drunk to think that's the case. And is gathered out of many people. In part, yes, that's true, but the majority of the Israelites are not here yet. Against the mountains of Israel, which have been always waste, but and they shall dwell safely, all of them. Are we dwelling safely in Israel? Thou shalt ascend and come like a storm. Thou shalt be like a cloud to cover the land, thou and all thy bands, and many people with thee. Thus saith Adonai Jehovah, it shall also come to pass that at the same time, shall things come into thy mind, and thou shalt think an evil thought. They're getting delusions from the Lord. And thou shalt say, I will go up to the land of unwalled villages. Israel has unwalled villages with every house by law having a bomb shelter. And they have them in the apartments too, on the floor. No. I will go to them that are at rest, that dwell safely. That's Israel today? Come on, of course not. Safely, all of them dwelling without walls. There's plenty of walls around the houses in Israel, tons of them. And having neither bars nor gates. They got bars and gates all over the place in Israel in the houses. This can't possibly be Israel today. Okay? And they'll tell the man of peace is coming. Yeah, he's going to come today and he's going to have peace by tomorrow, right? There's nobody making peace with anybody. These are the times of the vengeance of the Lord. Isaiah 34:8. For it is the day of the Lord's vengeance and the year of recompenses for the controversy of Zion. The day of vengeance is obviously at the end of the year of recompenses, and the recompenses is payback. For what? For the fighting, the controversy, the fighting about Zion. They don't want Israel to be the head of the nations and get the land back that God promised to them in a covenant. Not a promise, a covenant in Genesis 15. From the Euphrates to the Nile. That piece of land's about 100 times bigger than Israel. It includes 2/3 of Turkey to the left or the west of the Nile, a big piece of Syria, a good chunk of Iraq, all of Lebanon, all of Jordan, Kuwait, Bahrain, Qatar, UAE, Oman, Yemen, but Yemen's going to be a wasteland. And then you go across the Red Sea to Africa, and you got everything to the east of the Nile, from the Nile River all the way down to Lake Victoria, which gives a piece of Sudan, a piece of South Sudan, Eritrea, Ethiopia, Djibouti, Somalia, and parts of Uganda and Kenya, and the part of Egypt that's to the right or the east of the Nile. This is about 100 times bigger than the land we have today. Okay? Iran is not in the land we have today. Now, let's go to Isaiah 63. Why did I get Isaiah 64? All right, Isaiah 63, verse 4. For the day of vengeance is in my heart, and the year of my redeemed is come. So the day of vengeance is associated with the year of recompenses and the year of redemption. So I believe when the day of vengeance is over, we're in redemption. Okay, so let's show you where we're at today. Zechariah 12, and you'll see it plain as day. Now, I'm reading your scriptures, so let's forget what the big YouTube and the Facebook and the other big channels say, and let's forget what the guys with the big buildings and the denominations say. Let's see what the Bible says, using King James. The burden of the word of Jehovah for Israel, saith Jehovah, which stretcheth forth the heavens and layeth the foundations of the earth, and formeth the spirit of man within him. Behold, I will make Jerusalem a cup of trembling. That means the people are going to be trembling. They're so scared. And this is probably like the cup of the wrath of the Lord, if not the same thing. A cup of trembling unto all the people round about. So they around us, the countries surrounding us round about. Who are these countries round about? And let's see if they're fighting with us today. On the north, Lebanon, a hit. In the south, Gaza, a hit. In the south, Egypt with over 100,000 and growing in the Sinai Peninsula, another hit. Saudi Arabia not having a direct border with us, but just a couple of miles off our border, maybe not even a mile, in the southeast. Yeah, a hit. The Houthis in Yemen, south of us, but not on our border, a hit. Syria, full of all kinds of lunatics there. Now Turkey, who wants to annihilate us and genocide us, is moving his troops in there right now. A hit. Iraq, a proxy of Iran, not directly on our border, but round about us, another hit. Boy, we got a lot of hits. Iraq I covered, Syria I covered, right? And Iran, it's not on our border, but nearby, threatening us. Gee, I think I'm putting it together. Let's keep going. Verse 3. And in that day, what day would that be? Maybe the day of vengeance. Will I make Jerusalem a burdensome stone? For all people, all that burden themselves with it shall be cut in pieces. That means you're dead if you're cut in pieces, don't you think? You can't cut an enemy soldier in pieces and then crazy glue them back together and think you'll have something. Okay? Though all the people of the earth be gathered together against Okay. So they're cut in pieces. Okay? How about that? Who does it look like wins so far? Israel or the Muslim terrorists? Let's keep going. In that day, day of vengeance, saith Jehovah, I will smite every horse with astonishment and every rider with madness, and I will open my eyes upon the house of Judah. Now that's who's here now, Judah, not the 10 tribes, just Judah. Judah was never divorced from Jehovah. The 10 tribes were. We're here now. Judah is Judah and Levi. I'm in Levi. I'm a descendant of Aaron, which makes me a Levite and a Kohanim, or a priest. That's who's here now. A little bit of Benjamin, not much at all. Open his eyes upon the house of Judah means basically you're sliding into home plate. It's a very good thing because he's turned his face away from us and will smite every horse of the people with blindness. So what's the scripture about him turning his face away from Israel that they never teach you in the churches? I never saw one church ever teach this in all my years. Hosea 6:1, right out of your Bible. Come and let us return unto Jehovah. Could that be the church? Is the church going to say that? That means they're not with Jehovah now. No, it's Israel. For he hath torn, he will heal us. He had smitten and he will bind us up. After 2 days, now do you think that the punishment on Israel is 48 hours? How about when Peter says 1,000 years is like a day unto the Lord? How about 2,000 years? But when the Lord says 2 days, it's not the same as when he says they'll go to Babylon for 70 years, which is a precise figure. 2 days is an estimate. So when do they think Yeshua died? Someplace around the year 3030 or something like that, or 3033, right? So we're right on the money with the 2,000 years today, aren't we? So after 2 days, will he revive us? That word is chai. Chaya. It means to bring to life. In the third day, that's your millennium. So the punishment is 2,000 years. And then when it's after that, you go into the third day, which is the millennium, New Jerusalem, Yeshua on earth. He will raise us up and we shall live in his sight, because he'll be enthroned there along with the glory of God of Israel. The both of them are enthroned there. And you'll be able to see him and talk to him, I'm sure. I don't know why Yeshua wouldn't talk to you if you're in New Jerusalem. Let's go back to Zechariah 12. Now you're going to start seeing stuff that's going to rattle you. Yeah, in a good way. Before I do this one, I want to cover Isaiah 1:24 with you. It's very prophetic. It's completely prophetic. What's the verse? Boy, maybe 24? Isaiah 1. No, let's try 17. It's earlier. No wonder it's not working. I'm not in Isaiah, I'm in Jeremiah. Okay, Isaiah 1:24. Let's see what happened. Yeah, I had it right. I hit the wrong button. I got very big hands, and the iPad buttons are small, big hands. And that's where it comes from. Okay, Isaiah 1:24. Therefore saith Adonai Yehovah of hosts, the mighty one of Israel. Oh, he didn't say the mighty one of the church. I will ease me of my adversaries and avenge me of my enemies. Does that sound like the year of recompenses and the day of vengeance? I would say so. Isaiah 1:25, and I will turn my hand upon thee. That's a good thing in Bible speak. And purely purge away thy dross and take away all thy tin, and I will restore thy judges as at the first. Who were the judges at the first? Moses and Aaron. They were both from Levi. Aaron was the first Kohanim or high priest. So I'm directly descended from Aaron, but many, many generations. The Jews preserved this stuff. They passed it on. So like when my parents got me circumcised on the 8th day, they didn't have to pay money to the rabbis to redeem me, because the rabbis wouldn't take money from my father because he was a Cohen, a descendant of Aaron. All right. But that's how we know that stuff. And then it pops up at weddings and bar mitzvahs and stuff. And I will restore thy judges at the first. But a judge is also a prophet, okay? Moses and Aaron were prophets, no? So do we have two prophets coming? Yes. What are their names? Commonly called the two witnesses. Not Moses. It's elected unto man to die only once. Moses already died. It's Elijah and Apostle John. He said to Apostle John, you must prophesy again to many tongues and nations. And then when Yeshua was around the disciples, he said, there be some standing here among you that shall not taste of death till they see the kingdom of God, which I would assume is New Jerusalem coming. And he didn't really say that. It actually says someone. When you go to the text, even though it's Greek and you work it out, it says someone. And that was Apostle John. Moving forward, Isaiah 1, 26 again, we'll finish it. I will restore thy judges as at the first, and thy counselors as at the beginning. So we'll have the 70 again, just like Moses and Aaron did. What did Moses and Aaron do but lead the great exodus to Israel? What will the two witnesses do? You think they'll have nothing to do with the great exodus? I think they will. And if you're a true believer in Yeshua, you'll be in that exodus. Thou shalt be called the city of righteousness, the faithful city. Zion shall be redeemed, as in year of redemption, with judgment, and her converts with righteousness. Converts would be the non-Israelites that are believers, I expect. And the destruction of the transgressors and of the sinners shall be together. And they that forsake the Lord shall be consumed. So I would say they get destroyed together. The enemies of Israel and the bad Israelites, the 2/3 that get cut off, will get it at the same day, the day of vengeance, maybe even in closer timing. Back to Zechariah 12. Verse 6. Now you're going to see Apostle John and Elijah in action, fighting for the believers. In that day will I make the governors of Judah. Well, it really is the judges. It should say judges, but it's a similar thing anyway. The judges of Judah like an earth of fire among the wood. Oh, who has fire coming out of their mouth? And then it says, and like a torch of fire in a sheaf. I imagine he says it both times because there's two of them. And they shall devour, better translated, burn up, all the people round about on the right hand and on the left. And Jerusalem, they have this translation slightly off. What it's really saying is Jerusalem shall still be inhabited in her own, remaining still in her own place. Words to that effect. Jehovah shall save the tents of Judah first, that the glory of the house of David and the glory of the inhabitants of Jerusalem do not magnify themselves against Judah. In that day, shall the Lord defend, this would be the day of vengeance, shall defend the inhabitants of Jerusalem. And he that is feeble among them at that day shall be as David. What? The feeble old people will be like David, who killed Goliath, killed a lion, killed a bear, and was a great warrior? Oh, what's going on? You'll see. And the house of David shall be as Elohim. That's the glory of God of Israel, Michael, and he killed 140,000 in one day. That's how the house of David will be. What? As the angel of the Lord before them. That's Michael, the one that was with Moses and Aaron in the wilderness. In Exodus 23, verse 20, it says that God put his name Jehovah in this angel. And I will pour, now we're in verse 10, now pay attention very carefully. And I will pour upon the house of David, remember they're going to be like the angel of the Lord, and upon the inhabitants of Jerusalem, which could have non-Israelite believers too, the spirit of grace and of supplication. So when he pours his spirit out on them, right, they're saved. They're believers now. How could it not be the case? He doesn't pour his spirit out on sinners. And then what does it say? They shall look upon me whom they have pierced. The one they stuck the spear in his side and water and blood came out, Yeshua HaMashiach. And they shall mourn for him as one mourneth for his only son, and shall be in bitterness for him as one that is in bitterness. In that day there shall be a great mourning in Jerusalem, as the mourning in Hadad Ramon in the valley, and the land shall mourn, every family apart. That never happened when Yeshua was put on the cross and killed. Well, put on the stake, I should say, and killed. That never happened. So they look upon Jesus, Yeshua, I should say. And what happens when you look upon Yeshua? I'll read you the scriptures. 1 John 3:2. Beloved, now are we the sons of God, and it doth not yet appear all right, let me start again here. Beloved, now are we the sons of God, and it doth not yet appear what we shall be, but we know that when he shall appear, we shall be like him, for we seeth him as he is. When he appears, not when he returns to earth, when he appears. Matthew 24:30. And then shall appear the sign of the Son of Man in heaven, in the Shemaim, in the, where the clouds and the birds and the airplanes are, right? And then shall all the tribes of the land mourn. Well, we just read about a mourning in Zechariah 12. After they looked upon Yeshua, we see them mourning there. Gee, this must be referencing Zechariah 12. Of the earth mourn, and they shall see the Son of Man coming in the clouds of heaven with power and great glory. Wow. Where else do we see this? I'm not going to go through every instance, but we go to Revelation 1:7, right? Behold, he cometh with clouds. Oh, gee. And every eye shall see him. So the whole world's going to see him. The earth is flat, by the way. How else did the angels stand on the four corners of the earth? Come on. Every eye shall see him, and they also which pierced him. That's the Israelites. We read about that in Zechariah 12. They see him. They look upon him, but others do too. And all kindreds of the earth, all tribes of the land is what it's really saying. The land of Israel shall wail. That's mourning. Oh, we read about that too. Because of him, even so, amen. But let me show you the real kicker. John 6, verse 40. And this is the will of him that sent me. That's Jehovah's will, who sent Yeshua. That everyone which seeth the Son of Man and believeth on him may have everlasting life, and I will raise him at the last day. So they look upon him in Zechariah 12:10. The siege is already taking place. We got Saudi Arabia against us. We got Yemen against us. Gaza against us. We got Turkey against us. We got Lebanon against us. Syria with Turkey and Lebanon. We got Iraq against us. And then Turkey's got 100 warships. They moved some of their warships down off our coast. And the siege, which is not an invasion or an attack, it's a blockade, like what China's doing in Taiwan. Okay? And God pours his spirit out on them before it happens in Zechariah 12:10. And then you see them fighting like David and the glory of God of Israel, Michael. That's the everlasting life. You could still die. You're not immortal. You don't have a spiritual body. You probably live a long time. You'd probably go a couple of thousand years. My people's days are like that of a tree. A child shall die at 100. Another place that says even children get tired while they run, but you will run and not get tired. If you believe, if you don't believe, is God still going to convert you? I don't know. It's a good question. Ask him. I'm not God. So I think I gave you enough to chew on today. Remember, all this came out of the scriptures, not dreams, not visions. And if you want to discount the scriptures for the sake of a guy that has a big channel on Facebook or TikTok or something like that, or is in a denomination and has a big building he calls a church, and ignore the scriptures for that, you're in bad shape, because what did Yeshua say? If you reject knowledge, I will reject you. Yeah, but he didn't say 2,000 years. He said 2 days. So it's a rough cut. So you're not going to know the day or the hour. That's the thing. You should make yourself familiar with Isaiah 47 and Jeremiah 50 and 51, which concerns America. And if you're in America, you should really get into that. Now, there's another scripture I'm going to leave with you. No, I'm not. The Lord doesn't want me to do it. All right. So I am Moshe, and please pray for me and my wife for our peace, safety, and protection and joy. Pray for our finances. Please hit the like button, and you might want to subscribe if you want to get the updates from Israel when the eggs are hitting the fan. That's up to you. Takes you 2 seconds to hit the like button. And pray for our animals and pets to be happy, healthy, and whole. They're all rescues. And pray that I get better videos. I do better Bible studies, better videos. Pray for the peace of Jerusalem, which we're supposed to in Scripture. And I send my Shabbat Shalom to all those who love Yeshua HaMashiach. And I do hope you got something out of this. And remember, the time is short. War with Iran is going to start the whole world going crazy, and that could start today. Okay? So remember to read your scriptures every day. Even if you read that much in your Bible, it really makes a difference. I'm telling you, it really makes a difference. And even if you pray for 1 or 2 minutes, it makes a difference. Do I think reading this much scripture is better than this one? Yes. Do I think praying for more than 1 or 2 minutes is better? Yes. But what I'm trying to tell you is, don't stop reading your Bible altogether, and don't stop praying altogether. That's dangerous stuff. Not a good thing to do. Okie dokie? All right. So I'm out.